Remember all the drama recently, earlier this week, regarding authorship queen Blake Lively and her medical records? She suffered so much in so many ways, according to her. But you know who suffered more? I will tell you. Hello, my fam. It is Perez, the queen of all media, the original influencer, and your number one source for everything It Ends With Us saga. There is so much flying at us every day, and this has been going on for a while now. I thought it was important to remind us, this guy right here, he actually ended up being hospitalized during production of It Ends With Us. In June of last year, he spent a week at the hospital in New York City. At the time, Baldoni said that his hospitalization was due to an infection. We now know that infection is named Blake Lively. No, but really, truly, there is a direct relation between emotional and physical. Stress can manifest itself in the body in toxic ways like this. In fact, I thought it was extra relevant to mention this because it was literally a year ago today that he was hospitalized. And by that point, he already was slapped with false allegations. Imagine having to juggle directing a movie and keeping everybody happy while also internalizing the fear and worry that somebody is accusing you of doing things you haven't done. Remember, he even around this time texted one of the editors saying, "My body is done due to stress." And he wasn't the only one that ended up in the hospital because of her. Even though Ku Klux Khaleesi did not want to disclose her medical records, in a legal document in the state of Texas, she let the court know that Jed Wallace, remember him? She shared his private medical information. The Gaslight Girl alum told the court she was having trouble serving Jed because he had some heart issues. He developed heart issues due to the stress inflicted upon him by her. As some of you might know, Baldoni and his team hired Jed Wallace to monitor the social media activity of people in relation to the release of the film and what could happen. All he did was monitor, even though there was a plan in place. They didn't need to do anything else. The reaction from people was not astroturfing. It was their own reactions to her words and actions. Jed Wallace is a party to the complaint in New York, and Blunderbuss Blake and Jed are also suing each other in Texas. That litigation commenced before he was added as a party to the consolidated federal cases. And today, Jed Wallace submitted a letter to Judge Lyman basically begging for some chill. Chill. No, like literally. A lawyer for Wallace just submitted a motion to stay for discovery, meaning chill, pause. Why? A few reasons why. Jed's lawyer says, "We request for good cause a stay of discovery against him and his company, Street Relations, pending resolution of the issues, including the court's jurisdiction raised in their fully briefed pending motion to dismiss." So, while the judge considers Wallace's motion to dismiss, he wants a stay, a timeout. The letter says, as the court may recall, Wallace and Street were late added as defendants by Lively. Yes, remember? Jed Wallace was not an initial party to the complaint. Diva Pool and her husband added him in her first amended complaint. However, Wallace and his attorneys state Discovery has proceeded by and against the Wayfarer parties, who Lively continues to define as including Wallace and Street, who are an individual and his small company from rural Texas. This has caused the Wallace defendants to participate in discovery that in large part has nothing to do with them, but which will continue to require their substantial attention and money. Hopefully the billionaire co-founder of Wayfarer Studios, a party in this mess, who is paying for Baldoni's legal fees, is also paying for Jed Wallace's bills. Hopefully. And this is such a nuisance, Jed's attorney argues, my clients, Wallace and Street Relations, his company, were asked to consent to a deposition protocol for 40 depositions in the consolidated cases, which, if the maximum amount of time allowed by the rules is consumed, would amount to 280 hours of deposition testimony, far from their home in Texas. It should be noted that the Wallace defendants have no affirmative claims pending in the consolidated cases. All his issues are being dealt with in Texas. That's what his attorney is also arguing. They also argue jurisdiction, telling Judge Lyman this court does not have personal jurisdiction over Wallace and Street. Wallace's attorney also argues that the Never With Teeth icon's claims about him and his company lack merit. Plus, one of the claims against Jed Wallace was recently dropped: infliction of emotional distress. Now, her only claims against him are false light invasion of privacy and aiding and abetting harassment and retaliation in violation of California law. They smartly argue that false light invasion of privacy is not recognized in either New York, where Miss Lively lives, or Texas, home of the Wallace defendants. And as for aiding and abetting harassment and retaliation in violation of California law, Lively fails to plead that Wallace and Street were aware of the sexual harassment or that they knew the astroturfing that Lively falsely alleges was in retaliation for that sexual harassment claim, a required element. And even though this is just a motion for stay, it's so smart this is such a great letter. Because frankly, I would argue that this is the most compelling case, Jed Wallace, to have them be removed, to grant the motion to dismiss this one, 1,000%. Jed should not be a party to the consolidated lawsuits, I think. He wasn't on set. There is no proof in her complaint or the amended complaint that he did actually anything. She's got no receipts. And as they are arguing, the growing burden and breadth of discovery, including dozens of depositions, warrants, and stays, which I've been chronicling every day, it's a lot. Plus, Lively has already served interrogatories on the Wallace defendants, who timely responded while maintaining their jurisdictional objections. Plus, they're also arguing that the discovery requests are broad and they have little to do with the Wallace defendants. Therefore, since he's so little involved in all of this, even if the judge grants this motion to stay, Team Pinocchio, quote, will suffer no prejudice if a stay is granted to the Wallace defendants until the motion to dismiss is ruled upon. And they ended things with a bang, telling the judge, before involving the court, Wallace and Street conferred with counsel for Lively on June 3rd. Lively asked for time to consider their request. Wallace and Street confirmed they would wait to file, as requested, until Lively could propose a written response. Late last night, Lively's counsel informed Wallace and Street that Lively is opposed and served well over 100 requests to Wallace and Street. Therefore, the judge should weigh in the Wallace defendants' favor and issue the stay. 1,000%. Thoughts on everything? Let's discuss in the comments section.